Ahoj, vítejte na mém kanále Czech by Zuzka, kde vám pomocí angličtiny vysvětluju českou gramatiku. A dneska nás čeká téma, které jste si zvolili. Today we will have a look at the topic that you chose in the poll, the conditional. How to form the conditional in Czech. In this video, you will be able to understand these types of sentences. Let's read the first one. Šla bych ven, ale je tam ošklivo. Šla bych ven, ale je tam ošklivo. Šla bych ven, I would go out, but it is not nice. The weather is not nice. It's ugly, we say in Czech. Je ošklivo. Or also hnusně. Hnusně. Hnusně is colloquial. Venku je hnusně. It's nasty out there. This first part, šla bych ven, šla bych, is the conditional part. I would go out. That's one type. Now let's read the second sentence, which is the conditional clause. I kdybych to věděla, neřekla bych ti to. Even if I knew that, I would not tell you that. I kdybych to věděla, neřekla bych ti to. This is the conditional clause, where the conditional form is in both sentences. Now, first things first, how do we form the conditional? Jdeme na to. Let's look at the beginning of the first sentence that I wrote before. Šla bych ven, ale je tam ošklivo. I would go out. Šla bych ven. When you look at šla, it might sound familiar to you. Šla is past tense from jít, to go. Šla, šel for masculine and šli for plural. That's past tense. And bych is the specific part that we use for the conditional. So the bottom line is, for the conditional, we need to know how to make past tense. Therefore, we're going to take a step back and have a look at how to form the past tense. I wrote the pronouns here. It's important to mention the feminine and also the neuter gender, because in past tense there's a different ending for that. That's why there are so many. So let's have a look at how to make past tense. For that, you need to know the infinitive form. We will start with those regular verbs. For example, the verb dělat, to make or do. So you take the infinitive form, dělat, and you take away the last letter, t, and then you add these endings, l, la, lo, li, and li. Li with I and li and y are exactly the same in pronunciation. Let's see how we use these. These are the singular pronouns. These are the plural pronouns. For já a ty, we have two possible forms. We can say dělal or dělala. Dělala is for feminine. So I would say dělala jsem, and a man would say dělal jsem. I did. For on, obviously we only have one possibility, dělal. The consonant at the end marks that it's only masculine. On dělal, ona dělala, obviously only this possible ending, dělala. And for ono or to, something of a neuter gender, then it would be dělalo. For instance, if you speak about weather, you would use the neuter form, because it's to počasí. Now, we also need the auxiliary verbs, right? For past tense. So, for já is dělal jsem, dělala jsem, I did. For ty is dělal si. We need to use the verb to be in present tense. So, dělala jsem, I did, dělal jsem. Dělal si, you did. And for the third person, we have no auxiliary. Let's move on to the plural, my. Then we would use this ending. So we have dělal plus I. Dělali. For vy is also dělali. For oni is also dělali. And for oni is only dělali with y, because it implies it's women only. My and we actually also can be speaking about women only. Y at the end. And then we have the auxiliary verb. My jsme, dělali jsme. Vy jste, dělali jste. And the third person, has no auxiliary. So this is how the past tense is formed. We need two forms. The past tense in the correct ending and the auxiliary verb from the verb to be in present tense. I don't want to spend more time explaining the past tense. If you would like to brush up on the basics of past tense, I highly recommend you my course, my video course, which is called Explore the Art of Original Czech Conversing, which has 11 dialogues written by me and recorded by 10 unique native speakers.
Do Prahy, na Smíchovské nádraží.
Měla jste si koupit jízdenku u pokladny.
So you will hear authentic Czech from different people. And in this course I also explain grammar, for example, the past tense or the difference between perfective and imperfective verbs. And there's plenty of practice. And when we talk about it in past, měla jsem to udělat. I should have done it. And I put this course on discount. There is a 30% discount for 30 days. So starting today until the beginning of March, I also spoke about irregular verbs. One of those is the verb to go. Jít, to go on foot, has these forms. Šel for masculine singular, šla for feminine singular, šli for group of men or group that has at least one man, that's the Czech grammar speaking, and šli with y if we have only a group of women. If you would like to learn more irregular verbs, you can have a look at this chart or also enroll in my course. Now, what do we do with the conditional? The conditional is a combination of two parts as well. We need the verb in past tense and we also need an auxiliary verb, but not this one. We need a different one. Ta-da! These are the auxiliary forms for the conditional. Bych, bys, by, bychom, byste, and by. See, the third person now does have an auxiliary verb. Let's read it together. Dělal bych, I would do, I would make, or dělala bych. Dělal bys, bys refers to ty. Dělal bys. Dělal by, he would do. Dělala by, she would do. Dělalo by, it would do. Dělali bychom, we would do. Dělali byste, you would do, either formal for one person or a group of people. Dělali by. Dělali for men or mixed group. Dělali for women only. And as I said, there is absolutely no difference in pronunciation. Dělali, dělali. Now I wrote also bysme. This is a colloquial form that is used so widely that it's important to know this. But it's not proper Czech. So when you write something or when you need to speak properly, you use this form, bychom. I myself never use bychom when I speak with my friends and family. I always say bysme. But when I write a message, I make sure that I write bychom because bysme just doesn't look correct. Now, how do you say in past, I went? It is šla jsem or šel jsem. If we want to use it for a conditional, then you use this particular auxiliary. Šla bych, I would say that. Šla bych, I would go. And a man would say šel bych, I would go. Now remember our phrase, šla bych ven, ale je tam ošklivo. I would go out, but it's not nice. How would you ask somebody, would you go out? Šel bys ven, šel bys ven. And what about the plural? If somebody says, we would go out, but it's not nice. Then you would say šli. Šli bychom ven. Šli bychom ven. Let's try this translation. I would do homework, but I don't have a pen. Lame excuse, but this is how the conditional is used perfectly for excuses. So, I would do homework. I say as a woman, dělala bych domácí úkol. Dělala bych domácí úkol, but I don't have a pen. Ale nemám tušku. Nemám propisku, but you would usually say tušku, like anything to write with. Dělala bych domácí úkol, ale nemám tušku. A man would say, dělal bych domácí úkol, ale nemám tušku. Let's do a little exercise. This is going to be about Líný, Libor. Líný means lazy. So imagine Libor, he's just so lazy, doesn't want to do anything. Nechce se mu. Nechce se mu means he doesn't feel like it. He just doesn't feel like doing it. So he doesn't want to do anything because he's lazy. Například, šel by ven, ale nechce se mu. He would go out, but he doesn't feel like it. Šel by comes from jít. Now, what would happen with the verb pracovat? Say, he would work, but he doesn't feel like it. This sentence will stay exactly the same. So use the third person singular. You can have a look at the chart. Pracoval by, ale nechce se mu. Pracoval by, ale nechce se mu. He would work, but he doesn't feel like it. What about cvičit? Cvičit means to do exercise. He would do exercise, but he doesn't feel like it. We take away the last letter and we add by again. So it's cvičil, cvičil by, ale nechce se mu. He would do exercise, but he doesn't feel like it. What about uvařit oběd? He would cook lunch, but he doesn't feel like it. And again, it's uvařil by oběd, ale nechce se mu. And I put this last verb, vzdělávat se. It's from my last video on prefix vz. Vzdělávat se, remember what it means? It's to educate yourself, to study, like to really take it seriously and study. He would educate himself, but he just doesn't feel like it. So, the same way. Vzdělával. Now, what happens with se? Well, obviously, by would come before that because I made a space. Vzdělával by se. So, it's by and then the se comes after it. Vzdělával by se, ale nechce se mu. Now, imagine that you are saying this about yourself. If you're a man, that you would say šel, pracoval, cvičil, uvařil, these forms that I wrote. If you're a woman, then you would also add a, and instead of by, you would use the form bych. So let's say it together. I would go out, but I don't feel like it. Šel bych ven, ale nechce se mi. Here we change it. Nechce se mi. I don't feel like it. This is dative, by the way. Everything else stays the same. And I say, šla bych ven, ale nechce se mi. Pracovala bych, ale nechce se mi. And if you're a man, you say, pracoval bych, ale nechce se mi. Cvičila bych, ale nechce se mi. Uvařila bych oběd, ale nechce se mi. Vzdělávala bych se, ale nechce se mi. Let's make one sentence with me. So we. Let's do this. We would do exercise, but we don't feel like it. Do you know what form we would use here for dative? Nechce se nám. Nechce se nám. So cvičili. How is it for me? Cvičili bychom. Cvičili bychom is the proper form. Or cvičili bysme. Cvičili bysme. Cvičili bychom, ale nechce se nám. Výborně. Now, let's have a look at the word order. Of course, there's something about the word order in Czech, especially when there are two words that make the conditional or any tense. This word order applies to when the sentence starts with the verb. The verb is the first word. Then the auxiliary by would come, and then the se would come, and then a pronoun if it needed to be there. Now, what if I want to start by Libor? I want to mention Libor's name at the beginning. Then everything gets shuffled. Libor by šel ven. We just do this. It's not that bad. The same thing happens with the past tense, by the way. So if we start by Libor here, Libor by pracoval, ale nechce se mu. Libor by pracoval. The same here. Libor by cvičil. Libor by cvičil, ale nechce se mu. What about here? Libor, we still interchange these two only. Oběd stays in the same place. It's not part of the conditional. Libor by uvařil oběd, ale nechce se mu. And this one, This one is a little bit more tricky. Bise don't want to be separated. They are friends. So they stay together like this. They move as one Lego piece. And they go here. Libor by se vzdělával. Libor by se vzdělával. The same thing would be if you talk about yourself and you start by já. Když já bych pracovala, ale nechce se mi. And now we are moving to the second part. How to form the conditional clause. The conditional clause means it has more than just one phrase. It has two phrases and there is a condition. If something happens, then something else will follow. In English, it's not that complicated because we have the word if, which doesn't change. It's always if. If it was sunny, if I had time, if you listened to me. In Czech, for the second conditional, that is when it's hypothetical, we use this conditional clause. Like for instance, I kdybych to věděla, neřeknu ti to. Even if I knew, I wouldn't tell you. In English you say, even if I knew. And even if you change the person, even when you say, even if he knew, it's still if. But in Czech, the if has multiple forms depending on the person. It can be kdybych, can be kdyby, kdybychom, etc. That would be like one part of translation. Of course, it's also bound to the verb. Technically, we could say that these are translated as if would, which doesn't make sense in English because you cannot say if would. But in Czech, these are compound words. You can clearly see that we have bych, by, bychom. Those are the auxiliary verbs that we saw earlier about how to make the conditional. And we simply just added kdy in front of them. We write them as one word. Kdy means when. So literally you say when would. I wrote the Czech pronouns here. To simplify it, I didn't include ono and oni, the feminine and the neuter forms. And these are the auxiliary forms that we just saw a couple of minutes ago. If I say já bych to věděl, it means I would know it. Já bych to věděl. If I put kdy in front of it, then first of all, I cannot start by já. This would be the beginning of the sentence and it would mean if I knew that. Kdybych to věděl. Kdybych to věděl. So if you need to say if plus the past tense, you just put kdy in front of all of these. And remember, you write it as one word. So kdybych, kdybys, kdyby, kdybychom, kdybyste, kdyby. How would you say if you knew that with me? It would be kdybychom to věděli. Kdybychom to věděli. If we knew that. This is the condition. If we knew that. Kdybychom to věděli. We need to know the rest of the story. What would happen if we knew that? Kdybychom to věděli, nešli bychom tam. We would not go there. The second part of the sentence is in the conditional. Let's see a couple of examples. So, a hypothetical question. A millionaire asks his wife or his girlfriend. Kdybych neměl peníze, měla bys mě taky ráda? How to translate that? So we have kdybych, kdy we know it marks that it's the if word, if condition. Kdybych neměl peníze, neměl. Měl is from the verb to have, mít is one of those irregular ones. Kdybych neměl peníze. If, how do we know what person it is? Bych marks that it's já. So, kdybych já neměl peníze. If I didn't have money. Měla bys mě taky ráda? Měla bys ráda, mít rád, to love or to like. Would you love me too? If I didn't have money, would you love me as well? Kdybych neměl peníze, měla bys mě taky ráda? So the first part with if is a compound word with kdy and bych, and the verb in past tense, and then the rest of the sentence. What follows the condition is in conditional, which is formed by the verb in past and the conditional auxiliary verb. Okay. I also want to tell you, just like in English, you don't have to start a sentence with a condition. It doesn't have to be if blah 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 then. You can also switch it. You could say, měla bys mě taky ráda, kdybych neměl peníze. It depends what you need to start a sentence with. So it is possible to switch these two. But obviously, the structure will be exactly the same. When you need a condition, it has to start with kdybych and then the verb in past tense. So let's see more examples. Kdyby nepršelo, šla bych ven. Kdyby, what person does it refer to? Well, it's the third person, and then we need more information. Nepršelo is it. So we talk about weather. If it didn't rain, kdyby nepršelo, šla bych ven. Bych is já. And it's a woman speaking, so I could say this. Kdyby nepršelo, šla bych ven. If it didn't rain, I would go out. Now let's see this sentence. It's a little bit different. Kdybyste nebyli doma, dáte nám vědět? Look at it and tell me what's strange about it. The strange part is the second part. Dáte nám vědět is in present tense. Now, just like in English, we don't have to have the same structure. We can mix it up. Depends how we feel about it. Kdybyste, this refers to vy. Kdybyste nebyli, we know we are addressing a group of people, mixed group. Kdybyste nebyli doma, if you were not home, if you guys were not home, dáte nám vědět, will you let us know? If you were not home, will you let us know? And of course we could also say, kdybyste nebyli doma, dali byste nám vědět? Which in reality, I don't think we would really ask with dali byste nám vědět. We would probably prefer this version. This is a question to me. Zuzko, co bys dělala, kdyby ti přestal fungovat internet? No nevím. Co bys dělala? This, it refers to ty and addressing a woman because it has a at the end. Co bys dělala? What would you do? Here you have a great example of word order. The sentence started with something else than the verb. And also, we didn't start with the condition. If is here in the second part. So what would you do? We have to invert the order. Co bys dělala, kdyby ti přestal fungovat internet? Kdyby přestal. So these two refer to the third person. Internet is the subject. If the internet stopped working for you, if your internet stopped working. So what would you do if your internet stopped working? Vůbec nevím. No idea. Zavolala bych svému poskytovateli internetu. I would call my internet provider. One important note, this doesn't only refer to the second conditional, hypothetical situation in the future, but in Czech, this is a simplified version of the third conditional, which means hypothetical situation which could have happened but didn't. So from the context we would know if this could still happen or could have happened. We have forms to make the third conditional but nobody really uses them. So for instance, this sentence, kdyby nepršelo, šla bych ven, could be referring to last weekend. Somebody could ask me, šla si o víkendu ven? Ne, nešla jsem ven. Kdyby nepršelo, tak bych šla ven. If it hadn't rained, then I would have gone out. And one more thing, in Czech we like to add tak in the informal speech. It would be in the second part, after the condition. And of course, this would also change the word order. Kdyby nepršelo, tak bych šla ven. It's very common for informal Czech, for spoken Czech. And sometimes the Czechs also like to translate it into English. If it didn't rain, so I would go out. We like to translate tak in our head and then we use so in English incorrectly. Dámy a pánové, to je ode mě všechno. This is all. It's been quite a ride. And there is one more thing for you, an exercise for you to practice what we've seen in this video. You have to pause the video while you work on your solutions and then I will display the solutions for you. next week we will have a look at the construct with aby. So aby clauses, which are very similar and they are related to the conditional. Mějte se krásně, have a good day and don't forget to check my course. I would be very happy if you sign up. Ahoj!